I just need to hook it up and finish the wheel. But the main plan was to have the pivot hooked up to here and have it pivot around. But I chose this project because that's the field that my dad works in is with pivots, and I kind of wanted to fall around that area. The kind of energy involved is when the battery connects to the motor and spins the pivot. Also, when or another part of the project that I had but didn't get attached to it was a air pipe, but like, I didn't have it connected, and it was gonna push water through it and have water come out of it. But that's another. There's energy is when I move water into the pipe, even when the pivot is moving, not just when the battery connects to the motor. There is energy when it's moving. The kind of energy transfers that take place are potential to kinetic when the battery is not hooked up to anything, and then when it hooks up to the motor. And then potential to motion, which is after this hooks up to the motor, but then when the pivot hooks up to the motor. And then there's electric energy when the wires connect to the battery, and then it connects to the motor. So these transfers happen because of things that need to happen in the project to use these things. Because if these transfers weren't able to happen, then the project would be over. The energy is transferred from potential to kinetic when the battery connects again, and then the energy is transferred from potential to motion when the motor starts spinning the pivot when it's hooked up, and then the electric energy happens when these wires connect to the motor. For this part of the project, I used a 9-volt battery, and when I measured how much there was in it, when I first started, there was only 8.93 volts in the battery. And then after I used the battery a couple of times, I ended up with not very much less than I started with in the battery. I took the measurement, but I forgot to write it down. The motor was actually pretty energy efficient after using it for a while. There was about almost 9 volts in the beginning, and I used about only 2 volts, or around there after I finished all my testing, but I didn't get quite done with it. So when the energy in the battery is powering the motor, it produces voltage and current. Then it transfers the power from the inside of the battery out of the battery through the wires into the motor, which spins the pivot. The project was somewhat efficient in my end plan, but I didn't get to the end plan, so I think it would be pretty efficient, but I did not get the wheel balance good and did not get the impact up to work the way I wanted it to. I learned that I should have started my base plan earlier to figure out how I was going to better connect it to the pivot, and I also needed better support for this pivot, and that I needed better axle for the wheels on it. I also learned a lot more about pivots and their functions and energy transfers. That's all.